Inside the X is a short newsletter every Friday designed to give you some fun right before the weekend. It'll include links to blog posts, articles, books, quotes, and recent purchases I've made. Everything is handpicked to add value to your life. To join, email entertainmentxpodcast@gmail.com.
Good morning, Vietnam!
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
To infinity and beyond.
Some people without brains do an awful lot of talking, don't they?
It's classified.
You talking to me?
I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you.
I can't fly!
Expecto Patronum!
Entertainment X.
You never know what you're gonna get.
For this episode, I sit down with the Dustin Cross. Him and I go back a little ways to a show we did up in Ogunquit, Maine called From Here to Eternity. And ever since then, we've kept in great contact and have been wonderfully close friends. I finally got him to sit down on the show and chat about his life path, which is a very, very interesting journey. So it's going to be a lot of that and his insights and lessons learned along that journey. So I hope you enjoy this episode and keep on keeping on. We're back with another episode of Entertainment X, and today with me is the one and only Dustin Cross.
Hello, hello, hello.
I love it. I wish people could see how you're sitting right now. You have your legs crossed. He's got a nice, sensible glass of wine in his hand.
I mean, can you do an interview any other way?
Comfortably looking at the city skyline.
This view is beautiful.
Isn't it gorgeous? I love it.
What bridge am I looking at from here?
You are looking at the George Washington Bridge, which is approximately 6.8 miles away.
Which is so much closer to my
this
house.
window. Yeah. Oh, okay. So let's get down to business. Let's start
do it.
talking about it. What, growing up, what were your childhood dreams?
Oh my God.
What did you want to be? What did you want to do?
I mean, so I grew up in a very liberal arts family.
Yeah.
I started dancing when I was 3.
Yes, you did.
My aunt owns a dance studio. The
Where?
Dance Studio, Baltimore, Maryland.
That's where you grew up?
Yes.
Okay. That's great.
So I was always in the arts. I always wanted to be in the arts. I didn't know what it was that I wanted to do, but I wanted to be there.
Yeah. Were your parents encouraging of it? Did they think much of it?
They were
Or
completely encouraging. We could play soccer.
Yeah.
We could go to dance class. We could study math. We could be a Boy Scout. It didn't matter. I grew up with 2 brothers,
Okay.
an older one and one that's 8 years younger than me, Corey and Jesse.
Yes.
So yeah, they were supportive of anything we wanted to do.
And are you the only one in your family that went into it? Like went into theater?
We all went into the arts at one point.
Okay.
And we're all still in the arts, actually. I am now a costume designer.
Yes. Wait, we were going to talk about that.
Yes, of course, of course. My older brother's a chef. He has Ravage Deli in Baltimore, Maryland. They're featured on the Travel Channel and
Oh my goodness.
a million other things. I don't know if I'm allowed to plug right now. I'm
Yeah,
so sorry.
go for it. Why don't you talk about it? Talk about whatever. The conversation's going to go everywhere.
And then my younger brother, Jesse, is he has a band, Smoky Nights. They're in LA, touring the US.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Now you were... So first of all, I didn't know that about your brothers. I don't know
Yeah.
how we've been friends this long and I didn't know that, but that's so interesting.
Do you listen?
You don't share.
I
It's
am
like
now.
I gotta like tie you down to the chair so you'll talk to
It
me
takes
about
a
this
microphone
stuff.
and a glass of wine.
That's apparently what it takes. So as a kid, when did you go into touring? Like, how did that come about? Performing in a national tour as a child?
Oh, wow. I mean, I was already performing at that point.
Okay.
My first show was Gypsy.
Yeah.
I did that when I was 8 years old.
Yes.
And that was at my local community theater, and I had the theater bug. I auditioned for anything that I could get my hands on. I moved into dinner theater, which to this day is my favorite art form. I believe that you should eat a meal and watch a show at the same time. So I worked at the dinner theater for a while, and then my very first New York audition came up. I was the kid who read Backstage Magazine every single day and just looked for auditions. And I begged my father to take me to New York.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a lie. My first tour, which was Joseph, came about working in the dinner theater. They were looking for children performers, and they actually came and handpicked us out of this dinner theater. I mean, we toured the East Coast, but my first huge touring production where I did the U.S. and Asia was The Sound of Music with Marie Osmond.
No
I have a thing for the Osmond family.
Apparently.
And that was, the audition was in New York. I'm sorry, go.
No, you're fine. How old were you for Joseph?
I was 9,
And how old were you for Sound of Music?
12 to 14.
So you had to do like homeschooling?
We did. We toured on the road. Or we schooled on the road.
They have supplied that, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's in between.
Your teachers are there.
Yeah.
You're still doing your 8 hours of rehearsal a day.
Yeah.
But in between, you wake up and you have 2 hours of school, go to rehearsal, and then you come home and do your homework like a normal kid.
Were you hyped about it, or were you kind of?
I
don't
don't
want
know.
to leave.
As a kid, I didn't like school to begin with.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, I didn't
so-
either.
Or are you
personally,
asking
but-
about the road?
Well, no, but both, because going on the road, I would imagine some kids are like, I don't want to leave my town, I don't want to leave my friends, I don't want to go on the road,
no,
and
I
other
was
kids are like,
ready.
well, I want to go travel.
Yeah, I
At
wanted
9
the
or
adventure.
12. Okay.
I didn't want to be away from my family, but I knew that my family totally supported me. So my parents were not on either one of my tours. They didn't come out for
Wow.
weeks at a time. But they visited whenever they could.
Yeah.
But I was just happy. I've always been my own person.
Yeah.
You know, I've lived in New York now 11 years. I moved here on a whim.
Yeah.
I just like the adventure.
Who taught you that independence?
Oh my gosh.
Where did that come from?
That comes from my parents. My parents are very individual thinkers. And my dad works in psychotherapy. He worked with patients who had schizophrenia due to drug-related issues, or it came up from their drug-related issues. So he taught through his therapy, taking hold of your life, and through cooking is how he did it. So I had very strong role models. My mom, who's a nurse, went back into nursing after she had 3 children. So she went back to Johns Hopkins and became this nurse while raising 3 children at the same time. So there was no excuse not to be an individual thinker, and no excuse not to just lead the life that you want to lead.
What did their examples teach you about work ethic?
I mean, my parents told me and taught me from the day I could walk, like whatever I wanted, I could have it.
I love that.
And you just have to assert yourself. I mean, assert and insert yourself. Put yourself in the situation that you want to be in, and then don't leave until it's your situation.
Yeah.
And not in an aggressive way. It's sort of like integrating yourself into whatever you want to be, and making people believe that you are the person to be there. Just finding common ground, which I feel like I do on a daily basis. I think finding that common bond, and that's what really makes us artists.
Yeah. No, I noticed that among a lot of, I mean, like, besides being talented and having drive, but also having charisma and having the self-confidence to walk into a room and be like, yeah, I can do this.
Yeah.
Even if maybe you're learning. Not you, but me. You know, it's kind of like pushing the boundaries on what's possible by believing in yourself
Sure.
and having a belief in yourself. So I love that.
And believing that it's okay to still be nervous about that every day. Like, working on new projects now in my life, and being in the room with people who I never thought I'd be in the room with, and having that, oh my God moment, or that do I really belong here moment, and knowing inside that you do, because you're the person who put yourself there.
What did you on the road, like performing the tours? Is there any standout like backstage stories or things you learned from other people's work ethic, or top themes among the top performers that you encountered in
I
those
guess
times?
Performance drive based. I would go back to my Aunt Peggy, who raised me as a dancer, and just seeing her also as a mother, as a wife who owned this dance studio, who she's now had for over 30 years, just really having that drive. So watching that professional drive while she was doing something that she loved, sort of taught me that. I would say my very, very first director, when I was doing Gypsy, just for giving me the chance and then realizing that I had the spark that he was looking for. That was a bond that I will never forget. It was my very first collaboration. I still talk about it with people.
Why did that stand out so much? Like, what was that?
I
Was
think
it the
it
way
was-
he pulled the spark out of you, or is it you realizing in yourself what you're capable of?
I
Like a
think
benchmark
it goes
moment?
back to collaboration, like him seeing the spark in me realizing it in myself, and then us realizing together, me at 7 years old and him at 56 years old, that we could form some sort of collaboration
Yeah.
to make this art together or this show together.
Huh.
So that sticks with me, and I think, I meet so many new, being a costume designer now, I meet so many new costume design students or fashion students, and I love my assistant or people who assist me often make fun of me because they're like, you bring a new person into the studio every single day. I'm like, I believe that everybody gets this chance. Like,
Yeah.
they should be here. If you see that same spark in somebody, give them the chance.
Yeah. Okay, so a few questions. Did you have any mentors growing up, or do you have any mentors?
Yes. Definitely back to my parents.
Okay.
I think those home mentors for me were and are still my driving force.
Yeah. Yeah.
People on TV, I'm trying to think. Dancing Idol,
Okay.
who we'll come to in a little while,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Dick Van Dyke
yeah.
was a huge part of my life growing up. The Dick Van Dyke Show, watching Mary Poppins, all of those things, just to see. We talk about charisma now, and I don't think that I have 3/4 of the charisma that man has on a daily basis, but I'm constantly working on that. But he definitely sticks out as remembering as a child just someone who really drove me to be a better artist.
Yeah. So how much more performing did you do from age 12 to costume design?
Gosh.
I know. Are we jumping a little bit?
No.
I'm joking.
Let's jump. I performed all the way into moving to New York.
Okay.
I went to college at Shenandoah University.
Yeah.
Went to school for music education.
Why?
Because I had such great music teachers growing up.
Okay.
And even though I wanted to be in the arts, and I now preach against what I'm getting ready to say,
Okay.
I wanted a job with stability. And I didn't just want to be an artist. That's no longer true. I believe that you can find stability in your art as long as you believe in it. So I was going to be a music teacher. And my very first semester, I realized that I was not going to be a music teacher.
Okay.
I think of myself more as a mentor rather than a teacher. I'm not looking for like textbook knowledge. I'm looking for more one-on-one relationship building. So I went into just vocal performance with a theater minor.
Okay.
So then I went back to Baltimore after college. I performed a little bit more, and then I decided on a whim to move to New York City. It was just time.
Okay.
Was it. And I came here and I did a few shows off Broadway, and I did the production of the Phantom of the Opera off Broadway.
Okay.
Skuros and Bell wrote a show that ran at the Players Theater, I think for maybe 2 years. I did it for a year and a half. And then once that ended, it actually started, or before that ended, it started my transition into costume design. I assisted the costume designer on that production, who was Lex Liang, just on the design of the show.
So going back to the
back.
college situation, first semester, how did you decide? When did you decide? Why did you decide? Where did you decide that you were like, I'm not going to do the music education route? And how did you navigate that? You know, realizing, oh, this is not for me. I need to.
I think it
shift.
was more just about a discipline that I did not have in my life. Like, teachers are incredibly disciplined individuals.
Yeah.
I'm not that person. I want to make my own
honesty.
schedule.
Yeah.
I want to live my own life.
Yeah.
And not that teachers don't have lives, but it definitely was, as I was going through it and doing my first observations, like, realizing that it just was not for me.
Yeah.
And even in the classroom, I wasn't making the connections with students that didn't want to be there. I didn't have that bridge that I think great teachers have to sort of grab those students and bring them in. So I knew I didn't want to perpetuate this stereotype that I was an amazing teacher when I knew myself I couldn't connect to those students.
Did you force it for a second, or did you you saw it and you were like, no?
I mean,
I'm just
you have
curious,
to force
know?
it. I think at that point you have to force it a tiny bit. You're in your first semester of college, you know, and your parents are paying some crazy amount of money for you to be there, and you're like, hey, Mom and Dad, so I decided everything that I told you I came here for, I'm not going to do.
It's a no-go for me.
Yeah, so I mean, you push it for a little while. I had amazing teachers at Shenandoah, and a few in particular who were like, I'm glad that you realize that you're not this person, because we know it. I was like,
Right from the get,
fantastic.
like-
Thanks for telling me, guys.
Yeah. So you changed majors?
I changed, right after. Well, I went through the first year. I changed right at the end of the first year.
Okay. Then graduating college and getting to the city, I'm always so interested in, especially people in entertainment, their first year, half a year, 2 years, 5 years, when they move to New York City or LA, because it's assumed there aren't many, connections. You haven't created that family yet. So you have to have maybe a day job you're not really wanting to have, but it's there to survive. And you navigate auditions and booking the jobs you want. What was the self-talk, if any, that you kept in your mind as you navigated that before you got into costuming? When was the decision to...
Sure. I think I was lucky because I moved back to Baltimore first after college before coming here. So I developed a job. I worked for Anthropology, and I did their window design.
Yeah, okay.
So when I moved to New York, I was on the window design at the Fifth Avenue store here.
Oh, perfect.
So I had a stable job.
Yeah.
So really, my daily mantra was just, because I was in rehearsals at night, working all day, and tired as all get up, it was just, remember why you're here. You have to do this, but remember what you're here to do. And it became hard because as much as I loved my job there, it started to consume my life. I was working 50 and 60 hours a week, and then, doing those 6 to 10 p.m. rehearsals that we've all been in.
Yeah. Doesn't work.
It
You
really
get burnt
doesn't.
out.
It really doesn't. And I remember I called my parents one day. I was driving back when I had a car in Brooklyn, which was amazing.
Yeah.
I was driving home from work, and I called my parents and I said, I'm going to quit my job tomorrow. And they were like, great, do what you need to do. Then, of course, they called me 2 hours later and they were like, do you have any money? I was like, all right, I have a little bit, but I'm going to need you guys to support me, which they did for a little while.
Yeah.
But they, ultimately supported me in just leaving my job.
Yeah. At Anthropology.
Yes.
The window design.
Sorry,
then-
Anthropology.
No, hey, you know what? Life goes on, right? So then after you, and that is going to fall. There we go. So after you quit and you're just performing at this point,
Right.
when did you decide, okay, I'm going to put down the performing hat and move into design, costume design?
Well, performing and costume designing at the same time.
Okay.
I was making the money that I wasn't making
Oh,
from window
smart.
design.
How did you get into your first costume designing gig?
Just being the actor who loved his costumes. I mean, even back in Baltimore, I was that actor, and I do not support this because if somebody did this to me, I would be very unhappy. But
They were very tolerant of you.
they were very tolerant of me.
Yeah.
I was the actor who took his clothes home and altered them myself so that I had the best fitting costume on stage.
Oh no!
Totally do not support that thought anymore.
no.
But yeah, so I started being recognized by directors, and they were like, "You just look really good in your clothes." I don't know. It must just be me.
No, hello.
No. But then, here in the city, and so many people have so many opportunities
Yeah.
that they all want to be a part of.
Yeah.
They overbook themselves. So I had made costume design friends who I would be like, how about I just take that job for you and you can oversee it?
Oh, I see.
And then, you get established in the business.
Yeah, which is such an interesting phrase. You get established in the business because it's so, to me, that's so, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but the phrase itself is so on the surface. There's so many people you've had to meet. Not had to, you've gotten to meet
Sure.
that have gotten you to where you are today with like costume designing the film that we're going to talk about. And so I'm curious, were there any standout interactions in your costume designing career that, I don't want to say changed your life, but had a positive impact on your career?
Sure.
Moments where you're like, I shouldn't go to that party, but I did because I met that person and da-da-da, or what have you. I don't know.
Of course. I mean, working at the Players Theater where I did my first costuming gig.
Yeah.
Upstairs were the Amos offices, and Donna Trinkoff, who is there and still there and is running an amazing business, or amazing theater, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, it's theater business, so.
yes, she's definitely the heart of theater, though,
Okay.
but has a mind for business. She and I would just talk because
Yeah.
I was in the same building as her. We were not working on the same show. We were just building a connection. We would have coffee when I would be there to do the show. She called me up to her office one day and she said, I need a few things sewn. I don't need you to be the costume designer per se for this show. And I was like, great, let's set up the meeting. Let's talk about this. I came back to another meeting in her office and Chris Catelli was sitting there. And that's how I started working on Silence the Musical.
No way.
And so that's one of those moments where it's just, no matter how busy you think you are during the day, we're still people and we still crave human connection. So connect.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what comes of it.
You really don't.
And she definitely, she is a person who catapulted my career.
Yeah. With the amount of people she, I guess, introduced you to?
Just
or like what she
introducing
taught you
me-
about the business?
I'm sorry?
Or what she taught you about the business?
I think what she taught me about the business, being a very, very strong person in the business, she never takes no for an answer, but is also able to create such a human connection that people accept that she doesn't take no for an answer. But then also the people who she introduced me to. I mean, that show alone took me to 2 other shows after that, which then it just kept steamrolling from there.
Were there signs in your life leading up to costume design that you were like hearing or seeing? I don't mean like, I guess the way I'm wording that is like, yeah, is there any standout things where you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be performing anymore. Maybe I should go into costuming. I'm getting more opportunities with costuming. Or was there really no thought in your mind on the transition?
I don't know that there was a huge thought. I can remember at the end of the last show that I was performing in, there was a moment towards the end, and ultimately why I ended up putting my notice into the show, that I didn't feel the connection to the audience anymore. I felt like I was coming to do the same show for 8 shows a week.
Yeah.
And I had lost the reason why I was there. But costume design to today, and hopefully forever, which I think it will be because I love it so much, has that constant spark.
Yeah.
There are moments on the train where I can't stop thinking, just constantly. It works my brain constantly.
Is there a show you've designed that has the most you in it?
Gosh, I don't know.
All of them, I guess.
Things that, yeah, I feel like I definitely put a personal connection into every show. I also connect with the cast, I think, so well. I call them my family constantly. I will say I just finished doing The Prince of Egypt at Tuacahn, and that production as a whole, the creative team, the artistic team, the cast, the crew, we were so in sync from top to bottom in that show that when I go back and watch that show, I feel like I see a lot of me in it. Just the things that I've loved from theater always just became part of my vision.
What makes a seamless process for you in terms of getting a show to, like from like production meeting to opening night? Are there standout traits in a team that you've experienced that make it easier?
Sure. I mean, teams with zero ego. I mean, and we all have ego.
That always makes it easier.
No, it's just,
yeah, we do.
It's knowing when to control it. Talk about your friend and mine.
Yeah.
Mayor Jerry Mack.
Yes.
He says it the best way, and he says it to me constantly because I have that scatterbrain that wants to be in every direction.
Yeah.
But it's stay in your lane. I mean, because if we are 5 cars next to each other on the highway in California, because that's the only place that I know 5 cars could be next to each other. If you're not in your lane, you crash.
Yeah.
And you crash and
Terribly.
burn. And I mean, it's those teams where everybody comes to the table a strong idea, and they're able to stay in their idea, but look to the left and the right and able to collaborate with the person next to them.
Yeah, but staying in your lane.
Yeah.
I like that.
Thanks, Jerry Mack.
Yes, Jerry Mack. Shout out to Jerry Mack. What was my next question? It's skipping me. I love this. This conversation is so zen. I feel so
Good.
relaxed right now. What production has taught you the most about yourself or about your keeping your ego in check, maybe?
Sure.
Or is there a production that has taught you the most on any of that?
Yeah, I mean,
Without naming names,
I was like,
you're like, I don't know what you say.
I've had a few productions like that, where I get so absorbed by the show that I can't see that other people are creating. And I will say this is, I mean, further back in my career, but we all, even to this day, I think as artists, get so involved in what you're doing that you forget to check in. So there's definitely one show that sticks out for me like that.
Yeah.
Where, and me and my friends joke about it to this day, so I will say the phrase that I said.
Okay.
Which is, I, Dustin Cross of Dustin Cross Designs. In a production meeting, I said that, and that was really where I was like, okay, check yourself, because no longer are you a team member, no longer are you collaborating. Why are you saying your name twice in one sentence? You sound like a crazy person.
Talking about yourself.
Talking about yourself. But I mean, I guess, those are those moments where you step out of your body and you're like, this isn't why you do this.
Yeah.
You're not here to be Dustin Cross of Dustin Cross Designs. You're here to be the creative team member of this show. So, I mean, that's a big lesson, and I have great friends who keep me in check and remind me that I'm the person who said that at one time in my career. So I'm thankful for them as well.
Were there any challenges starting out in costume design?
Sure. I mean, when I first started out, I started out with a troupe of actors that I was an actor in.
Okay.
when I was here in New York. So I wasn't necessarily taken serious, first of all, because I didn't have any other credibility like the designers that they were bringing into the theater.
Yeah.
I was the actor who decided that I wanted to abandon acting in my fellow actors' eyes and become a costume designer. So I feel like that was definitely a challenge starting out. I also didn't train to do this. So
which is so cool to me.
oh, thanks.
I mean, it's self-taught.
yeah, but
Yeah.
there's still times where like you honestly sometimes don't want me on your sewing machine. And I can totally accept that.
Yeah.
I can do a lot of things on a sewing machine, but there are things that I have to be like, no, somebody else does this.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was hard. It was frustrating in the beginning being able to talk about my process with people because I didn't know the words that everybody else was using and I didn't know their process. I just am very Italian and throw my hands around. So
Yeah.
so people think I have some sort of creative flair, which I think I do. But no, yeah, that was
No,
definitely
you definitely
a challenge.
do. Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. So then as we navigate through this costume designing field here, I want to work our way to buttons
Sure.
and how your participation in that came about.
5 years ago.
Yes. 5 years ago. We're here for it.
So because I did Silence the Musical, which takes us back to that, I had that credit on my resume and developed an amazing relationship with the stage manager of that show. And she was stage managing a show at Carnegie Hall, of all places.
As you do.
Right? I know. Everybody wants to get to Carnegie Hall.
Yeah.
I was like, don't tell the joke. Don't do it.
Oh, no. I would. No. This is.
So she called me and she said, hey, I'm doing this show. It's very small. And they want to put a few costume pieces in the show. Would you be interested? I was like, yes, I'll do that for $100. It's Carnegie Hall. I don't care. I'll do it for free. So I went in and I met with the director, who is now and was then, I guess, the artistic director of Ogunquit Playhouse, Brad Kenny. And we instantly found a relationship. He brought me on, and I started working on the show, which was not a small show with pieces.
What did it turn? Like, when did you find out that it would be what it was?
I think maybe 2 or 3 days later, when it became a cast of 67 with 100 children dressed as angels in the aisles.
Oh my.
And it was a full-scale musical. So, fine.
Really? Was that your response?
Yeah. I mean, what else are you going to say at that point?
I feel
You're
like that's like a fight or flight moment.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I didn't.
I want to be at Carnegie Hall. Yes, sure, I can do that.
Rise to the challenge.
No, just fake your way.
Yeah.
Fake it till you make it. Mm-hmm. So I started working on the show. I never met the composer or the writer until about 5 days into rehearsal. And I walked in the room and I was talking to Brad. And this very, very unassuming man came up to me and was like, thank you so much for working on the show. And I was like, oh, thank you. What do you do? And he was like, oh, I composed it and wrote it.
Classic.
And I was like, fantastic. It's so great to meet you. We had not had a meet and greet. I didn't know who these people were.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was like, I love all of the colors that you're bringing to this. And 2 weeks went by, we did the show, and his name is Tim Janis, who everyone should know because he's an amazing composer, writer, instrumentalist, all of the above. And we just had a really, really great time with the show. And he sort of called me 2 or 3 days later, and he said, I want to work with you. I don't know what it will be, but we'll definitely work together. And when it came about, it might have been 4 or 5 months later, he called me and he said, I'm doing this music video.
Yeah.
And it's Dick Van Dyke. And again, like Carnegie Hall, I was like, I'm sold. You have me.
I'll do it for $100.
I'll do anything for $100 apparently.
That could be the title of this episode.
Thank you. Dustin Cross's career. I'll do anything for $100.
Of
Love
Dustin
it.
Cross Designs.
How dare you?
With the tagline, how do you get to Carnegie Hall?
I love that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so like
Okay.
you said, we're shooting this music video.
Right.
We're doing it in LA. It's going to be on the Disney lot.
Yes.
And Dick Van Dyke is in it.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, I want to be a part of that. So we shot the music video. We had a great time. And, you flash forward. From there, they decided to turn the music video into a short film. And from the short film, it became too much to be a short film. So they extended it to a feature film. And we just kept adding actors and adding script. And it's now the film that's coming into theaters on December the 8th.
Look
Buttons.
at that. Now, putting a pin in that story real quick. Before I use the seam ripper to go back. No, I'm just trying
I
to
was
make
like,
costume references.
safety pin.
No. I just want to hold that for a second and go back to this moment where you realized you had to costume 68 people, 67 people, 60 people in the 60s.
Yes.
What did you do? Like, okay, you need like resources, you need costumes, you need like logistically, you just went to like everyone you knew and you're like, listen, these are the pieces I need. Who do you know that I can...
We're very, very fortunate here in New York as designers. There are several warehouses here that house millions of costumes
So you knew where to go.
collectively. I didn't know where to go because, I knew of it, but I didn't really have a relationship with them.
Yeah.
Brad and Tim both had a relationship with TDF Costume Collection,
Okay.
which is here in Astoria. And we pulled the entire show from TDF with adding other pieces from other collections, but mainly from TDF. And we put them in 2 vans and we brought them back to, at the time I was living on 48th and Broadway in a 1-bedroom apartment, and we put every single one of those costumes on racks in my apartment.
Oh my.
I think back to that, and I lived with those costumes for like 3 or 3.5 weeks.
Yeah.
And when the time came, we did not even take a van from my house on 48th. Me and 4 assistants rolled every single one of those racks to Carnegie Hall. That's like how green I was at that point.
Oh my goodness. I wish this was documented, like video or photo or
I'm
something.
sure somebody has taken a picture of us walking up the street with all those racks.
A tourist.
It looked like a circus was coming to town.
Yeah. Oh, I totally believe that. Okay, so jumping from there to this film.
Sure.
And I have to ask this question, what are some standout moments working around these incredible actors and actresses that have been in this film?
First of all, it's just learning a brand new sense of professionalism. These are people, people in the film, Dick Van Dyke, Angela Lansbury, Jane Seymour, Roma Downey. These are people who have built their brand on being professionals. And not just on screen, but off screen. Every single one of them, I can say, are people who walk off screen and thank every crew member. Thank craft services for being there. They're on their script. They're helping other people who aren't sure of where they are within a scene. It was a masterclass in professionalism. But I will say, from each one of them, like standout moments, seeing Dick Van Dyke do the moonwalk.
Yeah.
The first day that we were filming was amazing. He never stops. He was 90 when we started filming with him. And at 90, he dances in between takes.
Oh, wow.
He just doesn't stop. It's so, so cool to watch. With Angela, I guess meeting her as a real person. Before we even shot together, I went to visit with her. And the very first thing that she did was make me a cup of tea.
Why did you go to visit?
Just to get measurements and sort of like have her feel me out as a designer, just so that we were on the same level. I flew to LA just to meet with her. And that cup of tea was life-changing.
Yeah.
When Angela Lansbury, she was like, do you want coffee or tea? You say tea. There's like no coffee response in that.
Why?
I mean, she's just this
Dame.
She is. She's a dame. And she wants to make you a cup of tea. Yes, you must have it.
What'd you guys talk about?
We talked about, her career. We talked more about my career, which was so cool because she wanted to know more about me. We talked,
Do you remember what she asked you? Like the questions she asked?
no, because at one point I think I blacked out in my house.
It was that tea.
Yeah, can I please have another cup of tea? Gosh, what did she ask me? She asked me how I started.
Yeah.
She literally, I think she had the same list of questions that you're asking me on this podcast right now.
I was curious if she
So
like
if
used
you guys
my questions
Googled that,
or-
I don't know.
That's so incredibly awesome. And then you guys, so you filmed everything in LA?
No, we filmed in LA, Maryland, Maine. Where else did we film? I think that might have been it. Virginia. Oh, New Jersey.
Oh, so you went all over.
We were all over the place.
Why did I think just LA? Oh, you just filmed with Dick Van Dyke in LA, correct?
We did, yes. The last time I was out there.
Right. Okay. And then, oh my goodness. So when you're there and you're working on the set and everything, had you met more? And we're gonna get to this point now of your quality of interactions you have with people. I'm curious. Before we get to that, were there any more interactions that you had out there in LA, or a part of the production team, people you met associated with this film that like stood out in your mind, or anything in particular?
Yeah, I would say, just about everyone who worked on this film, because everyone had a heart, or has a heart. I was like, nobody's gone yet, thank goodness.
Has a heart.
Has. Just a heart, and they just want to be there. So this, I've worked on a very limited number of films in my career thus far, but this one I think will forever stick out in my mind for that reason. Yeah. Just those relationships and people who wanted to be there.
Yeah.
Which has sort of been like, that is my mantra, and
Yeah.
has been for so long. If I don't want to be there, I'm not going to be. I think that's how we all should sort of be in the rehearsal room, in the process. You don't belong there at that point if you don't want to be there.
That's so true. That's so true. What are your views on relationships in this industry?
Relationships, how?
The professional ones that you make backstage at that first, like for instance, the meet and greet is very important. And I think a lot of people, when you first meet a team on any project that you're working on, a lot of people, I think, dismiss them. Not the people, but the event itself is like, oh, okay, we met. All right, let's talk about this. But it's really how you meet those people for the first time that stand out in everyone's mind. It's how you make them feel.
Right. And I think that goes back to, sort of how I've developed my career.
Yeah.
Being the outsider and not being the costume designer coming in right away. I just think it should always be a genuine connection. And you'll know it if it doesn't need to be a connection. If you're genuine and there's zero connection there, then there's nowhere to go from there. And that's completely fine too. You can be nice to everyone. You don't have to be everyone's best friend.
But you don't have to force it.
But you don't have to force it as well.
Yeah.
So I think, that meet and greet, please, I call it the first day of school. It's one of my favorite.
Mine too. Yeah.
I love those butterflies that I get every single time I walk into one of those. Like the apples of your cheeks start to turn bright red because you're nervous to meet people, but at the same time, it's a great like nervous energy.
Yeah, because you're all going to get to work together.
Yeah, we're sharing.
Okay, so as we move forward here, are there goals for the future? Do you set goals? Have you set goals?
Yes, I think everyone has to set goals.
Yeah, well, subconsciously or consciously,
Sure.
like we do.
Right, that's how you get up in the morning.
Yeah.
You're like, I would like to have breakfast tomorrow morning.
I'm going to get back to this bed
There you
tonight.
go. Exactly. But yes, career goals have I set. I've I've always wanted to be on Broadway.
Yeah.
I've had little tastes of it here and there. I haven't had a show that I've designed that's ran a Broadway run.
Right.
So that's definitely a goal.
Okay.
So anybody that's listening that wants to give me a Broadway show, I
Hello.
gladly would accept it.
Right here, Dustin Cross Designs. You heard
Stop.
it here.
No, I mean, I think, and well, I told you earlier this was going to come up, and this is exactly where it's going to come up. 3 years ago, I had a kidney transplant, so I think that drove me even more, just to not necessarily set goals, but love the life that you lead and lead it to the utmost daily. And from that, I think your goals become more easily realized. Because you're not putting pressure on being, oh my gosh, by the time I'm 30 years old, I have to have a Broadway show.
Yeah.
It's more like, I really want a Broadway show, so let me set up the pieces now. I think it just made me realize the importance of everything, and also family. I mean, because without them, you're nothing in my eyes.
Yeah, it's so true. Have you ever, it doesn't sound like it, so that's why I'm asking the question. Have you ever in your life forced it in terms of an opportunity or an event or wanting something to go a certain way? Because it to me, on the outside looking in, it's like your life has been a winding road that has taken you to wonderful places because you've allowed it.
Right. I think, yeah, I mean, I honestly believe no to that.
No? Okay.
Because I think I've just been open to opportunity. So I
Yeah.
don't think that I've ever really had to force it. And I think within situations where it's felt forced, still finding that redeeming quality in the production or the relationship, I believe in that silver lining. It's just, that's my life. Sorry, that was a very roundabout answer to that. But yeah, I don't think so. The minute I have to force it, the minute I have to fake it is, and it goes back to, then do I really want to be there? So fingers crossed, haven't been there.
Well, if you haven't been there, you probably won't be there. Right? No. Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
How do you stay in the light in this polarized world of darkness and light?
Well, I definitely don't ever say the words that you just said. No, I'm just kidding. No, I surround myself with
Wine.
well, of course, please. No, I surround myself with a lot of positivity, and that's not to say that I don't have a bad day, or I don't say things to people that I shouldn't say. It's in those bad days where you've said something like that, circling back to make sure that they don't focus on that, how the world is sort of dark, especially in this moment.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's more just about, I focus positivity, and that's how you get through that.
It's true, because what you focus on, you find.
I love that.
It's true. I mean, it's true, though. You focus on the good, you find the good. Focus on the bad, you find the bad. I have a funny side. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I don't think that, but also, without focusing on the bad, don't ignore it.
Yeah.
I think, because that's how we bottle things up, and now I feel like you're my therapist all of a sudden.
That's a part two.
But yeah, no, I think it's just embracing the negativity, but putting a positive spin on it.
Yeah.
And figuring out how you can be the person that sort of changes that.
Do you have any mistakes made that have proved essential in learning?
Sure. I mean, I think I would say, and I want to say it's in my younger career, and it was sort of in that transition from actor to designer. taking on way too many projects. And that came crashing down horribly when I first started.
Like overburdening.
Yeah, I mean, just going constantly and burning myself out and, losing relationships over that. So I've definitely come to a point in my life where I realize what I can and can't take on. And what I can't take on, I can still have around me by bringing great people around me.
Yeah.
Professionally and personally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I was like, and the personal part too. Yeah, but I think,
Okay.
that's where I'm just going to end that. I was like, I don't even have to go further with that one.
You really don't. Who are you when you're at your best?
I'd like to think that I'm always this person.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I want to say it's my best, but it's who I am. I think I am just that person who's focusing that positivity, who's surrounding themselves with great people. Like, I mean, you and my friend group, just making sure that those people are there. Yeah. Having family around. I think I'm at my best when I'm focusing my core values, which are friends, family, career.
I love that. I love that. Have you ever had to consciously cultivate your group of friends? Or have you just always had, was there a point where you're like, oh, we gotta change that and fix this?
Yeah, and I think also, I mean, you definitely, especially in this business, and cultivating your friends. Wow, that sounds so harsh, but I guess it's a reality.
Yeah, it is.
It's I think we definitely all have to do that, and it's on a professional level and a personal level. If there's somebody who's bringing dark into your life or negativity in your life, you have to sort of, how I deal with it is trying to get them to come to positivity. But there is a part where you have to cut people out of your life at points.
Yeah.
And I just think us as people, not even artists, that's what happens. Mm-hmm. You can't change everyone's mind.
No. And that was a big thing that I had to I wouldn't say like deal with. It's a big thing that I went through in giving myself the permission to be like, oh, no, I don't have to be around that because I, think I should, or I think I must, or,
Right.
no. It's like giving yourself permission to be like, okay, no, I'm going to choose who I'm going to be around.
So true. Who gave you permission?
That's the title of this. Every time you say so, I'm like, that's the title of this
That's
episode.
it.
Who gave you permission? Dustin Cross. This conversation is just, I love where it went.
I know. I feel like you and I may never have been this deep before.
No.
Which I love.
Definitely not. No, I love it.
It's
I'm
a
all
new
about
level
it.
of family.
It is a new level of family, and it's all historically documented right here on Entertainment X. Is there any other things that I've missed that you want to share? Any other stories you want to touch on? Was there anything that you want to share before we begin to wrap up here that come to mind? It's okay if it's
Nothing
no.
that I
I'm
can
just
think of.
all right.
This is definitely this took a turn where I didn't think it was going to go, and it's not like I came into this thinking. I've listened to all of your podcasts actually.
Oh, thank you.
I don't know why I thought this, but I thought it was going to sort of be like a list of my resume, which I love that it did not become.
Yeah.
So it's fun. It was a fun conversation. Yeah, I don't think we need to
touch on anything
don't
else.
gild the lily.
Yeah, I love that. I know. The resume is super interesting, and we can talk about that. But I'm so interested about how you got each gig, because I think there's a lot of this coverage that goes on with people that have success of either, oh, they came out of nowhere, or, oh, they're so lucky, or, oh, everything happened for them.
Right.
But none of this would have happened for you if you had a bad attitude, if you didn't try. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm so interested in capturing when I talk to you and, well, anyone else.
Yeah.
Metaphorically speaking, if you could put a word or a phrase on a billboard, is there any word that comes to mind or phrase that you would share with millions of people?
I feel like as we've talked through this conversation, I don't think I say the word out loud enough, but I've definitely said it enough. We should probably go back and count in this podcast.
Let's do it.
Positivity.
Positivity.
I just, it's, especially through this conversation, you never think about how important it is to surround yourself with it, but it's the reason that I am where I am.
Yeah.
You know, finding positivity within yourself, finding positivity within your friends, and them finding positivity within you. It's that balance. It's that playing ground that we all now get to live on, and ultimately create our art on, which is cool.
So true. And I can feel it from you, this positivity. Dustin, this has been an excellent conversation.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm so glad we could chat.
Yeah, and soon.
Yes. Oh, and one more thing. Before
Yeah.
we cover this up right now, we didn't even talk about it. The Office.
Oh yeah, I'm so sorry.
No, I mean, I meant to ask you about it because I know that's something people can go see your work right now in New York City,
Please go see it.
which was just extended.
We're just extended, yes. We're now open-ended. We were actually a closed run. We're now open-ended.
Yes.
We're running 8, and in December, I think something crazy like 12 to 15 performances a week
Oh my God.
at the Jerry Orbach Theater,
Yeah.
which is 50th and Broadway. We're the only off-Broadway show to have an on-Broadway address, which is exciting. But it's all 9 seasons of The Office. It's every moment that you want from the show, all in one musical parody.
Yeah.
So I think I've seen it. It's been running 6 weeks now. I may have seen it a total of 2 weeks across those 6 weeks. I just love it so much. Like, I'll go see it as much as I can.
I saw it. It's hilarious.
Thanks.
They cover it purposely, and it's not like on the nose. You know, like the jokes are like, they're funny if you don't even know The Office. Like, it's a funny show in general.
Right.
But if you know anything about The Office, it's even more hysterical.
Oh my gosh, there are love letters to the fans in the show.
Yeah, there really are. And a cool piece of history, I guess, is that that's the same room where the Fantastics played.
It really is. And I mean, talk about energy when you can feel it. That room just, it exudes that.
Yeah.
It's a great feeling in there.
Oh, lovely. Love, 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 love this. Love you.
Love you.
Dustin, thanks for sitting down with me, man.
Of course, of course, of course.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Dustin Cross.
You've been listening to Entertainment X, the podcast. You can follow Entertainment X on Instagram at _EntertainmentX_. If you haven't yet, go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Join Clay next week for another curiosity conversation on Entertainment X. Thank you for listening.